Dude, keeping up with the Seattle Kraken live from the Mariners press box, apparently. I just saw Siegel go by. Um, what's happened since we last talked? The NHL draft took place in its stupid format, which I hope they never do again. As soon as I saw a big screen with these old men in hockey front offices on, I said, we're gonna get boomer Zoom usage here. This is gonna be very bad.
The
And it was.
360 VR room or yeah, stupid. Not a fan.
They had what's his name? Roger McQueen? Is that
Hmm.
his first name?
Good
The
job.
fact that he was able to get to Disneyland from the draft, he's stupid while the draft was still happening. Like,
Yeah.
I
They
can't believe
choppered that kid, man. That's funny.
it.
They
Hey,
literally said, "Okay, get on a helicopter. Bye."
get on, go. Um,
What a
yeah,
day.
yeah. Hey, I mean, and he's picking up brownie points because he's gonna wear 95. Like that's oof. I don't want to be endeared to the Ducks. Anyway,
The Ducks are an incredibly unserious organization, and I mean that in a bad way.
Negative.
well, there are trades that I think might sway that. Anyway, um, yeah, we'll start with the draft. They went forward, eighth overall. I'm not entirely surprised because they're doing the oops all centers bit, which talking to people, I get it. I mean, centers can become wingers. There's the old adage that you can never have too many centers. It is kind of funny though. Um, right? Like it is somewhat
Yeah.
amusing.
Elliot
I
Friedman talked about that on 32 Thoughts today about how so
oh
many
really?
teams are looking for centers and Seattle just keeps picking up centers. And he was like, I don't understand. He was like, I get where people are coming from when it's like all you're getting is centers, but also there are so many teams that are just on the hunt for a center right now. And so having that center depth isn't bad. And, I agree with that, but also there's so many other needs that the Kraken have that just isn't a fucking center. Sorry, I'm dropping the bomb early
Already?
today, but there's so many needs that they have that isn't a center. And yeah, it's kind of
That makes sense.
baffling. And like, I'm not mad about it. I think that that was a fine guy to draft. I know that he signed his ELC at the last day of dev camp, but there are other things that they needed more than a center, I guess.
Yeah. Uh, Miracle, do you have thoughts on that?
No, it's a strategy. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but it's a strategy.
You got a kick out of Liv. I saw chuckling out of the corner of my eye. Um, yeah, I don't know. He's got great hockey IQ. Like he's 6'2", so he's not gonna get pushed around. Obviously, we'll have to bulk up a little bit because he is a little bit of a string bean. I don't know. I'm not mad at it.
No.
Well, especially because we go to the rest of the draft here, right? Look at this Jake O'Brien guy. I'll actually say his name instead of saying the center. 6'2", 177 out of the OHL with the Brantford Bulldogs. Second season with Brantford, career highs across the score sheet, served as alternate captain. Great in the power play, which would be nice if he could help the NHL team, but he won't be doing that soon. Um, yeah, I'm not mad at it. The IQ is what sticks out to me, and I could see it a bit at Dev Camp. The thing that makes me feel fine about them not going D first round, not only is the fact that they got Blake Fiddler with their second round pick, which I've only heard people within the organization and the cover of the team rave about the guy. But the fact that they drafted what four D men right after they took O'Brien, so they said, "Hey, you want D men? Here's four of them.
Yeah.
Shut up." um,
Deeply unserious team. Like,
Yeah.
I just
well,
don't.
yeah, we knew that.
I
Uh,
think that Blake Fiddler was a good acquisition by them. Um, I think that was like one of the better moves that they could have made in that round, personally, from all of the draft work that I do. I was pretty jazzed about that one.
I have seen that pick being viewed as like an underrated, like he could have gone first round kind of thing. Like I don't know. His story has been interesting to hear. He comes from hockey pedigree, 6'5", 220, so he's big, nice big. Um, led the Edmonton Oil Kings of the WHL. WHL boy. Um, led all Oil Kings D-men in points, goals, game-winning goals, insurance goals. He's a dual citizen of USA and Canada, and he's represented both countries on the
That's cool.
international stage. It was kind of fascinating. Um, yeah, not what I would have expected, but yeah, Will Reynolds in the third round from oh god, the QMJHL teams names always fascinate me. The Acadie Bathurst Titan.
Sure.
Uh, sure. Um, Maxim Afaganov. No, Agafonov. Sorry, flipped him there. In the fifth round from Topar Ufa. I think he's just the second Kraken draft pick that's Russian ever. Uh,
We needed some
which
Russians.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that was one
Yeah.
that I also was pretty excited about. I think I actually can't even remember if I wrote about him or not, but I was pretty
Yeah.
stoked about that one. Yeah.
He was interesting. I saw him a little bit at Dev Camp. Um, he stuck out a bunch amid some of the other D-men that were available, especially in the Stuckey Cup, just because they basically had all the WHL guys on one side and all the OHL and non-WHL guys on the other. It was like interesting that we're lining it up like this. Um, they had two picks in the seventh round. They went with Carl Anborn, another D-man. I think he got a point in the Stuckey Cup. I remember tweeting that name. Um, And then they actually, yeah, they took a forward with the final pick, Loke Krantz, who had a few points in the Sucky Cup. So he's Swedish. I guess in that, because Jade, you've said some good things about two of the D-men that they drafted. I know you both had thoughts on their center first decision. How do you feel about the draft overall? Because I mean, they were able to use a few of the picks to go and get Mason Marchment. So that still plays a role. You get another young centerman. Uh, you get a guy in Fiddler who was rated as a first round D. You get four total D to add to your prospect pool after again. I was like, Ty Nelson's great, but who else? Like, who else is coming up besides the WHL guys who are brand new and going to be brand new? Jeff Tambellini, who I guess has been offered an assistant GM job in Tampa
Mhm.
Bay, which, please, for the love of God, I would like for that to not happen. Uh, Jeff's also great to talk to. Uh, very, he's a smart guy. Obviously, he has to be if he's in the position that he's in. But it's great talking to him about some of the younger guys. I'm hoping to have him on the show one day. We'll see. He seemed interested. Um, but they've such great job at scouting some of these guys and finding some of them. Yeah, I don't know. We'll do Miracle first, and then we'll go to Jade. So you can pull from all of the hockey prep, the draft prep that you did. I'm sure your brain is just a bunch of folders of drafts in there, Jade.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
bad.
Miracle, you first. Your overall feelings on Seattle's draft this year, all things considered. Again with the picks that were used for Marchman, and then Jade, have you round it out because I'm happy with it. I'm happy with Fiddler specifically. I don't know how I feel about O'Brien. The hockey sense is there. Again, I saw it at Dev Camp, but Fiddler is the one that I'm really intrigued with.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we all know how I feel about Marchment. I'm stoked that we got Mason.
Mm.
Love we got Mush. Um, I don't hate any of the kiddos that we picked up. I think Jay's gonna have way more to say about this because she has, like you said, folders and folders in her mind about these kids. But I agree that I don't know. I don't know a lot about O'Brien, but I'm interested to see where that goes, to see how he develops, because it's gonna be yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes. But I like Fiddler a lot. Um, yeah, I'm not mad about it. I think it's gonna be a good developmental year. We'll say
A
that
good
again.
Yeah,
journey.
that's
Yeah.
a safe way to put it.
Yeah. So
I'm super stoked about Fiddler. I think that having another defenseman developing that's a good, strong prospect is going to be a good thing. I'm looking forward to seeing, when he signs his ELC. I think that that's going to turn out to be really beneficial for Seattle, like as a whole. O'Brien is one that I just kind of have a big question mark. I understand that, like, you can't have too many centers, whatever, whatever. At what point do you look at a roster and the depth and everything and say, okay, we've got too many centers? There's just too much happening here. Because, you still have Shane Wright developing. You still have Matty Beniers, who you're paying. I can't remember his contract off the top of my head,
Oh,
but you're
funny.
paying,
7x7.
yeah,
A
you're
lot.
paying a good amount to that kid. And he's kind of flip-flopping between first and second line. And I know that last season, Dan was always, the lines are what you make of them. It's not that,
I
there's not
didn't call
actually
it the
lines,
fourth line.
whatever.
You did, Darren.
Yeah. Um, so and then you have Chandler Stevenson, who I'm I'm gonna refrain. I'm gonna be really good to everybody that's listening and to ourselves, and I'm gonna refrain from that discourse today. But then you have Chandler Stevenson, and just there's a lot happening at that center level. You have Berkeley Catton, you have, all these other kids that are going to be pushing for this NHL spot. And at what point do you say, okay, there's too many centers here, and there needs to be some trades for some other like positions that are needed, defensemen, uh, goaltending maybe. Like I know that Seattle just picked up Matt Murray, and I know that we're going to touch on that later, but Matt Murray, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
one of the Met Murrays.
yeah. So I just feel like there's a lot going on center wise. And I know that like 2 shows ago or whatever, I was like, there's not that much of a logjam. Now that they've picked up another center that could be an NHL level center at some point, there's too many centers.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I can.
yeah, I have a lot of feelings, and you can't what the fan base would have pitchforks and uh torches outside of KCI if Seattle ever even considered trading Maddie or Shane, I feel like. And at some point you're going to have to figure out what are you doing with all these guys so that you can let some of these younger kids come up, and um even the fourth line centers, Berkeley Catton could make a really good push at training camp, and not dev camp. What's the other one?
Training camp,
Isn't there a third one? Rookie camp.
rookie camp. Yeah, but if he's going to make a push for the NHL, it's going to be at the training camp.
Yeah, but he could be making a really good push for training camp, and then what do you do with that fourth line center if you're like, oh shit, Berkeley Catton is the fourth line center this year? Then now you're in this weird limbo where you're paying a guy NHL money, which I can't even remember who the like fourth line center is right now.
Pretty good draw.
Yeah, I forgot about him already.
I'll pick up on that. Yeah, you do have like the big thing is what is the clear plan of play here? Because
Yep.
Berkeley Catton, I would prefer to not play him as the 4C. Um,
I completely agree with that, but he could come out in training camp and just have a phenomenal breakout camp, and never say never, but I agree. I would prefer him to not be in the NHL full time next year.
oh, I mean, because of his skill set. I'm not worried about that. If he shows he's ready, take the fucking wings off, considering you're not gonna be a team like unless something crazy happens. You're not gonna be a team in the playoffs this season.
Hmm.
Like a bunch of the things that you've signaled have, led us to that conclusion. Let the fucking kid play. I mean, he can't play in the AHL.
Yeah.
So, you know, my big thing is just his size and his play skill. Like, I'm not playing him on the 4C, but as we've talked about, you don't have room up the top three unless someone decides to take Chandler Stevenson's contract, which you've signed the contract. I don't think someone's taken it. And especially with the young centers in the organization, let him learn from the guy. You know, I think Berkeley Catton's skill set is going to be on the wing. We've talked to him over the course of dev camp, and he said he's comfortable playing on the wing.
I always
So,
forget about that with him because I look at Berkeley Cat and I'm like, see, that's it. I always forget
sure.
that he's also a comfortable winger.
So it'll be interesting to see, yeah, how they handle that because, yeah, Shane Wright and Matty Beniers should be your pillars up the middle and go from there. You've committed money to Beniers as you've talked about. You've committed money and term. Sorry, you've committed money and term to Chandler Stevenson. Um, so unless eventually you decide to buy him out and deal with that, which again we've all talked about, the cap will go up, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, well, the other side of it, and I think you were mentioning, Jade, about the trades, is that yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee that your all of your prospects don't make it up to the NHL level.
Hmm.
That's just not how it goes, right? Same like with baseball. Not all the guys that they're going to draft here in a few weeks, they're not actually here right now, Liv. I don't know how Liv puts up. I don't know how Liv puts up with me. Um, are going to make it to play here at T-Mobile Park, right? So yeah, no, they could go and maybe O'Brien. I hate to do this immediately. It's like, hey, we've just brought you in from the boy draft. We're talking about trading you away immediately. Like, hey, maybe it does, become a thing in a year or two where they're trying to acquire top talent to make the playoffs then and start to build towards the postseason.
Hmm.
And one of the teams trading away the talented star winger wants a young forward, wants a young center, and then an O'Brien or whoever comes into play, right? So, yeah, it's a good point because yeah, it's it's not realistic to see your prospect pool and think they're all going to become Kraken. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. It's not, you know.
I also am of the mindset that, like you just said, not every single prospect is going to be at the NHL level. And there are a lot of fans that disagree with that, but that's just how it is. Not every single prospect, not every single AHL guy is ever going to make it to the NHL, and that's fine. And as we've discussed before, there's nothing wrong with that, but I think that that is also something to consider. So, yeah, I have a lot of feelings about the way that they drafted and just what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, they made some decisions that relate to how they'll go moving forward. So get towards that. They announced the development camp roster. Development camp came and went. I'm not going to read you the roster because I don't know how much people want to hear me read. Maybe some who aren't sure if I can would like to hear that, but I assure you, don't laugh at me. I assure you that I'm able to. Um, what's your name again? I can't read it on here. No. We'll keep going. Yeah, they announced qualifying offers for your three RFAs on Monday the 30th. Obviously, Riker Evans, Capo Caco, Ty Cartier. We'll get to more on those three in a little bit. The preseason schedule came out, which is nice. I can Liv already did it, I'm sure, but you can put those dates into your calendar for when we're getting closer to hockey and getting going there. They'll play at home on Sunday, the 21st of September against the Canucks at 5 o'clock. Play a couple road games September 23rd at Calgary at 6. Wednesday, the 24th of September at Edmonton. Time TBD. Ooh. Um, September 6th, 26th at Vancouver at 7. That one can have a clear time. Then they'll close out their preseason with home games on Monday, the 29th of September against the Flames at 7, and Wednesday, October 1st against Edmonton at 7. Uh, very dramatic, yes. Um, then we get into free agency. Oh boy. Oh boy. Back-to-back years, I didn't think they'd sign a D right away. And what do? They sign a D right away. Um, I think Jade or Merrick, I think one of you or maybe both of you sent into our Slack because I woke up right when they signed Lindgren. You go, Charles, wake up. Right at like 10:30, I woke up and they signed Lindgren. And I was like, what is happening? Like, what are we doing? Um, yeah, they signed defenseman Ryan Lindgren to a 4-year deal. 4 years, 4.5 million AAV. So he signed for the 2028-29 season. Lindgren's deal gives you 4 left-handed left shot D, which is a lot.
Hmm.
Uh, you've got Dunn, Alexiak, Lindgren, Mahura, and Evans is an RFA, but obviously they've got his rights. Um, we'll discuss it. Whoops, almost threw my laptop at the camera. That would have been bad. My nice watch that Liv gave me. you know,
Happening to friends.
what? Ignore the violence that is happening. 27-year-old set career highs in assists and points this past season across 72 regular season games. Um, you're gonna it's gonna be funny hearing you say defensive defenseman, but he is. He does like nothing offensively. But he is a guy that will will basically eat pucks. He will eat the rubber. He'll block. He's physical. And he'll be a good locker room guy, which we talked about Freddie Gaudreau. I'll talk about my overall feelings, my overarching feelings of this team in a second, because I'm gonna say all the free agents and we'll talk about our thoughts on them because there's only two normal free agents, re-sign Cartier, and then the Kako situation. Uh, yeah, you know what you're getting with Lindgren. It's defensive D, 27 years old, just wondering what the shakeup is because we talked to general manager Jason Botterill right after the first day basically ended. Um, Teams obviously still worked into the night, but they were done. Um, and he said, "Oh no, we're gonna compete and we're gonna let the guys battle it out and have depth." Ron Francis said the same thing after they signed Montour, and then they traded Brian Dumoulin the next day. Obviously, Jamie Alexiak hasn't been traded yet. As of 9:08 on Sunday, July 6th. Watch, it'll happen while we're doing this. Um, but I have to feel like it's coming. 4.6, I can find his exact contract. 4.6 million. See, I've ingrained it into my brain for a guy who was playing third line, third pairing minutes last year towards the end of the year. Still good. The other one was, oh yeah, the other one was Matt Murray on a 1 year deal, the 31-year-old netminder. Um, I was kind of confused at first because my brain has remembered Matt Murray as an NHL guy, but he's been a very good AHL goalie. So it just seems like this is your version of replacing Alex Steska. Uh, like you could spin it as competition for Philip Grubauer, but with the decision to keep him, I doubt that. They've committed to him. Bottrill said, "Hey, we're keeping Gruby here. We want Colin or Coylan, Zulianello, to work with him. We believe he can do more. You're not going to sign this AHL guy. You're not going to commit like that to him and then be like, oh, wow, he just really surprised us. No, Um, the 31-year-old Murray spent most of last year in the AHL with the Toronto Marlies. Good year, 10-5-4 record, 1.27 GAA, 934 save percentage, three shutouts in 21 games. So pretty solid. 6'5", 220. Played a good handful of games with Toronto, Ottawa, Pittsburgh. I believe he was with Bottrill previously during that Pittsburgh stop, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
Where'd it go? Yep, Pittsburgh. So they have some familiarity, even though Bottrill really didn't mention much. He was just like, oh, well, because RJ from Emerald City Hockey is like, oh, what do just kind of asking him about him personally and thoughts on having him being around him again. He's just like, oh, well, he's a veteran goalie. And I was like, wow, way to sell the guy. That's like, Jesus Christ. Um, yeah, wrap up the forwards and then we'll kind of talk about them. Ty Cartier signed a 2 year deal, was an RFA. They extended qualifying offers, 2 years, 1.25 million AAV. So he gets a little bit of a pay bump, just fine. And Capo Caco has filed for arbitration. I think one of the big things with that, and that'll kind of get us into the free agency stuff, is that now, because of this, he can't be he's no longer eligible for an offer sheet. So nobody can come and pull a St. Louis Blues and say, fuck you. We're going to try and make you pay for him now. Which I thought the Kraken might do, but then it became clear that they weren't going to be aggressive. Um, this was a hot discussion between the three of us. I'm not worried about it. Like, I imagine before the hearings start, we'll hear something about a new deal for him. Um, I am fascinated though, and Miracle kind of brought up the term. I am interested to see the term he'll sign for. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's no longer eligible for an offer sheet, which I think is one of the bigger things in this. Uh, he had some great things to say about Seattle during exit interviews. Obviously, Jade was there with me for that. Um, you know, I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. He's limited to negotiating only with Seattle because he filed for arbitration. Um, so I don't know. I'm personally not worried about it. I don't think it's a problem. A player exercises his rights. He has the rights to file for arbitration. It keeps him safe from a potential offer sheet. You could spin it as, or maybe I'm spinning it as already. He wanted to ensure nobody would offer sheet him. He wants to stay in Seattle, but he needs more time to work on this deal with this front office. That's how I'm spinning it. That's how I'm taking this. Um, I went Miracle first last time. So Jade first and then Miracle, specifically Kako. And then we'll go into the other free agents. But it's interesting. It certainly is an interesting, predicament that's going on right now because I think we all would have liked to had it out of the way, but as is not the case.
So I would have liked to have it out of the way for a multitude of reasons. I think that when a player even files for arbitration, that can sometimes get like a sour taste in a player and their agent's mouth, like, sour taste in their mouth between them and the front office of the team that they're playing with. I think that that's one of my bigger concerns. Another thing that I worry about is if it does go into the arbitration hearing where then, the team and Kako are sitting down with each other, kind of battling it out. There is only a 1 year deal that they're able to file because he's a unrestricted free agent next season or at the end of next season. And no, 2 seasons from no, yeah, next season. Sorry. My brain's pulling up the Puckpedia picture, like in my head, I can see it, but then the years aren't lining up. Anyway, so he would be an unrestricted free agent. So it'd only be a 1 year deal, which that's not, I feel like that's not even worth it at that point. But then a player's obviously not going to not play for that 1 year. So I have kind of some conflicting feelings. My biggest thing is just when players do file for arbitration, there's sometimes just that feeling of like, they should have offered me more. They didn't offer me what I thought was fair for the way that I played for that team or, the term that I think I deserve or whatever. And so that's kind of my biggest concern. And that was hard to get over text when we were talking about it in our little chat. But that is one of my bigger concerns. Aside from that, I do think that given the way that Kako talked about Seattle and then the way that what Jason Botterill had to say about Kako after his like first press conference, I feel pretty hopeful that they'll figure it out before it goes to the hearing, but I do still worry a little bit about, how is that going to go? What's going to happen from here? What's kind of the next move? Because I think that he is a pretty key piece in the production that Beniers had last year. And I think that obviously they could find another player that is like Kako's caliber and bring that player in and, pair him with Beniers. But I get a little bit worried. And also, I would like to stop seeing the discourse online about him.
Yeah.
And that's what I have.
Yeah, I think they will reach a deal before it goes to arbitration. I do think they're going to figure something out. My biggest concern was, like Jade said, I think it's going to leave a sour taste in, not, I don't know, not necessarily sour, but I think it's going to make him think twice about how long he stays.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would me. If I had to raise it, it can't feel great for either side to have to raise it to arbitration if you can't agree on shit like this. So I just think it's going to make shit tense in the room. That's my big thing. And I think that's going to affect how long he decides to stay with us. Because I do think he loves it here. I think he's a great fit with us. And we do want him to be a part of our, a major part of our organization moving forward. But if they keep doing this, I don't know. I would have a hard time re-signing if it was in the back of my mind, like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to go through with this again in a year when my contract's up or whatever. So that was my biggest issue with it is the term. How long are we going to get to keep him if it does raise that high? Like if it does go to the hearing, even if it doesn't, if he does agree to stay, how long is he going to stay before he has to do this again? And then what is that going to do to him? Because it would mess me up if I had to keep doing this over and over again. So I don't know. That's my
I do have one other thing to toss in because I just looked up his agent, and his agent is the same as Ty Cartier's agent.
oh,
Um,
interesting.
but he also represents Villanueva, David Goyette, and Ottavainen, and he also, like, not Kraken wise, represents Leon Draisaitl, Mikko Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, Mackenzie Blackwood, uh Thomas Harley, Rasmus Ristolainen. So like he has some pretty big contracts. So
Yeah.
again, I'm not super concerned that it's not going to bring a contract back, but like you just said, Miracle, I worry about the term, the pay. Is Kako gonna want to stay in Seattle moving
Is it
forward?
worth
And
it? Like,
yeah. Oh, he also represents Patrick Laine. So
okay, cool.
yeah, I think it's not gonna be a problem, but there's always still that little bit of like shit, this player that, has been really beneficial, even though it was just for half a season on this team, is now going to arbitration. And then you look at like Swayman going to arbitration 2 years ago or whatever. And I swear to God, I saw that Kako filed for arbitration and I was like, fuck, 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 fuck. We're gonna all have to witness this exact same thing again. And
That was
now
a
it's gonna be a
shit
player
show.
that everybody cares about. And hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But like I said, arbitration can be so nasty and just bad. And I don't want to see that because I really enjoyed watching Kako. I don't want to see that because the Kraken are so new and there's already all this concern being raised about, are people going to want to play here with all this sorry, Charles, I'm just yapping. With all this turnover, and I'll end it there.
These are valid points. I'm not saying they're not valid points. I just the trouble is we don't know. We don't know how
Yeah.
negotiations are going, right? We've heard basically nothing, which you could take both ways. Um, the point was made that this happened with Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn filed for arbitration before his big
Mhm.
deal,
Yep.
and then he got his big fat deal. Um, you know, I am going to choose to be the optimist and say, hey, this ensures there's no offer sheet. This ensures he can only negotiate with them. Damn ice cream machine is blowing up over there. Um, you know, maybe they do need more time. You talk about a guy who has that many players to keep track of, like maybe they just need more time. Um, the other thing is with Capo and the situation he was in New York is maybe, yeah, he's trying to figure out the best situation for a turn. I mean, we had this conversation earlier in the show, right? It's like, hey, what does he want? You
Yeah.
know, because I'm sure he wants some security and not being flippy floppy and where he's going to be at. But also, does he want to commit? Like, I just think there's more than goes into it. Does he want to be here? But also to the arbitration point, and then we'll look at the free agents. Yeah, I would prefer to not get to the hearing at all because then it gets to both sides feeling why you should get either less or more money. Because then
Mhm.
it becomes the Kraken say, "Oh well, he didn't do this." And for Capo's like, "Well, I did." I just don't think it'll get to that point. I'm choosing to be optimistic. Um, the free agency market is where I choose to not be so optimistic. Ryan Lindgren, don't get me wrong. And like my final thing here in the last part of this episode is, hearing the locker room guy that he is, hearing the locker room guy that Freddie Gaudreau is, um, I'm like, this is going to be a transition year. I know ECH has said it. I've talked to a few people at Dev Camp who have said it. Um, they were really determined to be aggressive and turn things around for a shot at trying things. Trying things? Why do I sound like this? I don't know. You would have cut you would have bought out Philip Grubauer, and you would have moved on, taken that money. You know, I understand that the free agent pool wasn't as deep as it could have been because the guys resigned. Knew Marchand wasn't going anywhere. I knew Tavares, Ben, like a bunch of them weren't going anywhere, right? Even like the Boston fan is upset about Marchand.
Ugh.
Wow, you just gotta know.
Great way to react to a Bruins fan.
That's fair. You know, my point is Lindgren and Goudreau should help set the fucking culture because as painful as it is to hear, you look at the lack of effort in games, losing all the back-to-backs, not getting up for some games, not showing the same amount of fight. That's come with the same leadership group.
Hmm.
Okay. Am I wrong?
No.
It's the same group. It's unfortunate because again, these are your first baby's first team of misfits. And I Vegas hate to say that. Ugh. Uh, don't smile at me. Um, but yeah, that's why I didn't want to name a captain. I just didn't think one belonged. I thought, who I think is fit, but I didn't. It wouldn't have made sense to me to do it his first year. Is Brandon Montour. I think that guy would be a good fucking captain. I think he leads by example. He's in the room. He's got great energy.
He's
Like
loud.
he certainly is loud. That's for
And
sure.
it seems like everybody listens to him. People gravitate towards him.
Yep.
You
I
and me
think
Yeah.
talked
he
a lot about that at the beginning of
I've
last
seen
round.
him. I've seen them gravitate to him.
Yeah.
I think he will end up our captain eventually. I think it's just a matter of time before he's our captain.
I concur.
So, like all of that, my point of why it makes, and again, these points have been made of this being a transition year, is that you lose, not lose, you get off the hook for a bunch of contracts next season.
Hmm.
You're up to $43 million in projected cap space next year. Obviously, things will happen, right?
Yeah.
But you lose a few of those contracts. Maybe you move a couple more here and there. You move the Alexiak deal off. Schwartz is in the last year of his deal. I get that. I know, Jade. I know. Who are you waving at?
No comment.
Jade. I almost said Jaden Eberly. I made a player. It just Jordan Eberle's at this second. Who knows what he wants to do? He's 35, right? Ellie Tolvanen is at the end of that deal. Um, you know, all of your D are basically locked up. Yeah, and then Philip, goes to the last year of his deal. Maybe then the buyout becomes more, attainable or eatable.
Feasible.
Eatable.
Please don't eat the buyout.
I don't. That's why I think, I'm okay with a foundation year, build it, get it set the foundation. Get these guys to fucking play right, you know, like Shane. Um, you
Set the
know,
tone.
set the tone. Exactly. That's where I'm at with
Establish an
it.
identity.
That's what I'm coming away from this free because I don't expect them to do much of anything else unless someone that will be part of their future plans becomes available. Um, that's where I'm at after this set of free agents. Miracle, you and then Jade will round us out for the episode just on where you're at with this team after these free agent signings. Because don't get me wrong, like if Lindgren can stay healthy, that's fun. He's younger than Alexiak. He's cheaper. He make people hurt. I just want to make people feel bad. Um, Matt Murray, who knows how many games he ends up playing at the NHL level. Ty Cartier, I have thoughts on that I've said several times on this show.
Yeah.
Right. So
I don't know, man. I agree. It's gonna be a set the tone kind of year because like what are we
Miracle's just like, I don't know.
what are they I don't stop
Yeah.
asking me to get into the head of these white men. There are no thoughts there. They're like throwing darts at a board and like, yep, we want that one. Um,
I want another D man, but not a drafty.
no. Give me another
Sign him.
left, give me another left demon. Okay. I don't know.
Stack it. What's it?
He, Lindgren is not
Where's National Memorial? Hold on.
Uninspiring.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm just like, okay, cool.
wow.
I mean, overall, I'm just like, all right, let's. How many locker or like how many set the tone locker room guys can we have? Like,
Sure.
it's a great room, but we got to play too. Like, I don't know. I don't hate. I like. I'm not mad at it. Like, I just am a little bit like, oh, I wish we'd done more. I don't know. It's. I'm excited to see what the season is. I'm not. It's not Debbie Downer yet. Yet.
Debbie.
I'm
But
also not fully discounting this. Sorry, were you going to say something else?
no.
Okay, I was going to say I'm not fully discounting the season yet. I'm not.
I
I'm very excited that Lindgren is
am.
very excited to be in Seattle. Um,
He was a nice guy, and Jay, you saw he seemed nice. He did seem like
I mean,
interesting.
yeah,
Jazz.
you can't be like, I can't be like, oh, he sucks. I don't want him because he was
Yeah,
thrilled to like just be
yeah.
talking to people. So
Nice.
Jazz to be here. That's great. I love that. I think that that's going to be good energy. I am not his biggest fan as far as play style goes. That's fine. I can save a lot of my thoughts for a later episode because I know that Charles is trying to get out of here. Um,
standing up
I'm
and putting
worried
things on is
the
like,
Mariner
yeah.
Moose will come and shoot me in the back of the head if we're here any longer.
So not super jazzed about that, but I'm excited to see where it goes. I think that Alexiak, I know that he had a lot of interest at the trade deadline. I'm looking forward to seeing if that does
Should
go
have just done
somewhere.
it.
Huh?
Should have just done it then.
Exactly. But I
I
am
don't
looking forward to
get
seeing
it.
if that goes somewhere through the rest of the summer because it's July 6th at 9:30 p.m. when we're recording this. There's still so much time in the off season before training camp
Yeah.
even starts for moves to
Yeah.
be made and
And then more deals
um
might happen at training camp.
exactly. So I don't hate what they're doing. The Matt Murray thing, I think that he's going to be a fantastic veteran presence. Ty Cartier, keeping my mouth shut about.
I'm excited. You guys you've made both made your thoughts clear on Ty. I'm excited about Ty. I'm glad we got to keep Ty.
Hey, if
I'm
I'm really
they
happy that all of my friends are happy. That's very
they
important to me.
they signed up to a 2-year deal, they obviously, you know, think that they can get some more out of them. It is more of a hey, you have 2 years to show it.
Hmm.
which I think is fair. And if he doesn't, okay, time to move on.
Yeah.
I
I kind
agree
of
with
feel the
that.
same way about Lindgren, where, he's had a couple rough years. I know that him and Kako played together. Very excited for that,
Yeah, that
for
was
them to be
cute too.
back together. But I am hoping that he proves himself a little bit more and proves, not that the contract is bad, especially we talked about cap going up, all that good stuff. I'm excited to see what he does with the team. So,
If anything, they won't like have to have Jared McCann fight their battles anymore, which
yeah.
Which is
again, that can happen. That goes
hilarious.
it
Jared
goes
McCann is your
into my
enforcer?
Right.
he shouldn't have to. It goes into like again, this is my wrap up here. Is like you talk about having too many culture guys. I need new culture guys because the last ones, the culture they've made is passive as fuck and inconsistent.
Hmm.
Am I wrong? It's
No.
unfortunate. It's harsh to hear, but they're passive. They're a team that obviously the last 2 years teams know they can run them, and they've been inconsistent.
I
Some
don't
nights
think
they
that's
beat the
harsh.
best teams in the league. Some people won't like it. Um,
I mean,
some nights they beat the best. They beat Florida last year. They've beaten Toronto at times. They beat Boston a few years ago when Boston was like legitimately good and not a husk of what they are now.
well,
I said that while Liv was
Rip
leaving.
Boston.
Um, Liv came back. Uh-oh. They beat the like they're inconsistent. They beat the Hurricanes in year one. They beat the Panthers in year one. Like they've shown they can what the possibility was, but it hasn't been sustainable. Not only, lack of talent, lack of superior talent, the lack of like the motor as a team isn't there. Mikey Eyssimont had a motor. Kai Cartier can have a motor. Brandon Montour has a motor. You put the motor that Brandon Montour has into everybody, this is a Stanley Cup team just because of that
Absolutely.
motor, right? So like that's where I'm like, I disagree with having so many. Like I think we need to get further from the inaugural season, unfortunately, because that group they set the table and the table was lined with like fruit gummies and how to train your dragon utensils. It's shit. I need new. Um, And you'll get that next year. Again, Schwartz will be off, Eberle will be off. Like, I think you just need to start going. And then with Bottrell, he's already started to kind of make this his team.
Hmm.
Like they're making like you brought in Lindgren, you brought in March. Oh, I've been talking the whole time about Lindgren and Goudreau. I forgot about Marchment. Marchment's not like you get my point. Like I
Yeah,
think
I
we're
think
starting to get
that
away.
yeah, what Botterill has done so far, I haven't hated. I was a really, really, really big doubter, like perhaps the biggest Botterill doubter.
Sure. And that's not
Uh,
unwarranted though, right?
yeah, what he did in Buffalo was mediocre at best. Um, and I have been thoroughly surprised by what he's done with Seattle so far. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the offseason shapes up because, it's only July. There's so much time left, and there's so much that can still be done.
Yeah, I had no expectations about Botterill just because I've learned very quickly like this team is going to do whatever the hell it wants to do. So
Mhm.
it's easier just for me to go in with no expectations. And if I get surprised in a good way, cool. Then I don't get let down. So, I mean, so far I'm not hating a lot of what we've done. I want to see it play out before I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, woo.
I
Or
also know that a lot of the like more insider guys, Darren Dredger, Elliot Friedman, I know 32 Thoughts just ended this morning for the season, and I'm super bummed about it. But a lot of those guys have said like there's so much time still for trades, and they think that it's going to be a pretty trade heavy summer. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to. I really like chaos. I would like to see a 7-team NHL trade
No,
with
no,
salary retained, and
no.
listen, that's my idea of heaven. Not necessarily involving the Kraken, but like I'm excited to see what trades do transpire over the next couple months.
I don't mind trades if they're actually beneficial. I don't
Yeah,
like just trading dudes just to trade dudes, which I feel like is what we've been doing. Like, hey, you can take this one and we'll take that one. Why not?
yeah,
What is that
that's kind of how it's
like?
felt. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not fully discounting what they've done
Yet.
yet. Yeah, we'll see how
Yeah.
it plays out, but I'm
I think
excited. I'm feeling a little bit more positive. I also got yelled at recently for how doom and gloom and negative I am. So I'm trying to be a little bit more positive.
well, I think it depends. Jade's going somewhere soon, so we'll have to figure it out. But I think we'll do a longer one on this because we have thoughts, but that's the point of a podcast. We don't all need to agree. It doesn't need to all be
Yeah,
kissy ass. Like we can feel how we feel, and then maybe if I'm right about Ryan Lindgren, and I'll be happy about it, and I'll say hee hee hoo ha,
you can clip it back
just
in
like
later
that,
on.
exactly like that, hee hoo hoo ha.
Yep.
So
Just like that.
yeah, we'll get it figured out and get a new one on the board. But yes, I am. I wonder how far I can take this.
Adventure.
Like I should probably get out of here. I've been here since 8 o'clock.
Go home, eat something.
Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. I'm trying to end the episode.
Okay.
Look at.
What is happening?
I don't know. I don't
What's
know.
that MySpace angle? Back in
Yeah.
my day.
You want to accept my friend request?
Oh
No.
my God.
I can create AI generated Kraken pictures. Do you want me to post that?
No.
But engagement.
I'm gonna block you.
Oh, all right. Till we see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Live Lions.
Bye, Live
A good rest
Lions.
of the
I live
day.
lions.
Wish Adam Larson a good rest of his day. And
Amen.
until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Be well. I already said that 3 times.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. Where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Kraken away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of circling Seattle sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.